about everything.
No.
I talked to Renee
Oh.
today or through email, and I did ask her if they had a draft or a template for
Uh-huh.
that, and I haven't heard back from her.
Oh, okay.
Just from the minutes, it sounded like you felt fairly positive about what he said, so I was just.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly very interesting. Do you have a copy of that?
I didn't, I mean, I have stuff
Oh,
that,
here it
I
is.
forwarded everything
Yeah.
last week.
Well, here's a picture of what their architect did, which I think there's some concerns about it, but they're using everything up and they're using a high-tech septic system
Yeah.
and they don't have a place for a well yet. We talked about the fact that the water system might not be able to accommodate them, or may not want to accommodate them.
Well, it's sort of like
one of
you
both.
propose the maximum and then back off.
Yeah,
That's kind of cute.
yeah. Hi Nat, how are you? Good. How are you? Good evening. It was a nice day today.
We were
Yeah.
just doing lamentation talk about having to be here instead of on our decks with nice beverages.
Yeah, it was nice right up until about 11:30. I had to come to work.
Oh. Yes.
So,
Are you ready to start?
I think
7:01.
we could
I will kick in
go ahead and start.
Recording in progress.
the Zoom.
Minutes from, we also had other minutes to approve, but we didn't approve them because I think that was the only person that had been at that meeting, so.
I think I would hold off again on the minutes.
Yeah, I wasn't, I
So
couldn't, I couldn't vote on.
Oh, yeah, so we've got to hold, yeah, let's hold off. I'm the only one that was here last time of the members that are here today. So, can I spend a minute to ask David if we have heard anything from our council on?
I called today and the receptionist did not know who to send us to, so she was going to find out and try to have that person contact me back.
And this is after we've sent
An email to,
an email
yeah, so
to them,
I will keep at them,
okay.
This is our council?
yeah. Joe is on maternity leave right now, and I think they're just kinda, he just went on, so I think they're just shuffling, trying to get.
Well,
And part of the problem was there were people out today in court, and so,
okay. Well, if you could keep on that, that would be great, because I think it would be nice to get that resolved.
Yep.
Or have some direction. So, I would like to, what we've got on the agenda for tonight is working on the section 4.46 conversions, and that would include the site plan review language that Nat had drawn up. One of the things I noted when I started looking at that, and David and I spoke about that, we have a document called Site Plan Review Regulations. And then in our zoning ordinance, we also have a section in there,
12.
12. Which just talks about site plan review authorization, but we don't actually include our regulations in there. We actually include our regulations in a separate document that,
So basically what the section 12 does is it authorizes the planning board to hold site plan reviews. And then under the RSA says you have to have a set of regulations.
mhm.
So it's the RSA that's quoted in the zoning is the one that authorizes and then also goes on to say what the board has to have for documentation or have for regulations.
So I asked David kind of late whether he could look at what Nat has put together, and I'm just curious if you made any headway on that. If you have, just say so, but
Yes,
I
I can
would
pass.
okay, great. I would also like, though, to see if we can
Don't
finish
worry.
up.
I would, yes, please.
I can pass one on. Probably easier that way.
Thank you.
I'd like for us to finish 4.46, but I thought I'd just bring that up at the beginning of our discussion, so when we get into site plan review, we have something that is similar but different, I guess. But with that said, let's jump back into 4.46, because we were very, very close at our last meeting, and I'd like to see if we could make it to the end, so we've actually got a draft. David, could you maybe walk us through what I think it's the red lines in this?
Yep. Which I don't think, yeah, okay, you do have. So,
And just to be clear, we're looking at something that says updated 7/9/26 on the upper left.
yep,
Okay.
and so, under the 4.46 conversions, we added the sentence, conversions may take place on a lot in conjunction with construction that results in more than one principal use on the lot. That is to deal with cases where you may have one or two buildings that you want to convert into housing.
Yeah.
And the ordinance is clear further back in section 4, where it says that you only can have one primary use and one primary use basically on a lot, unless it's during a certain event, and one of the events is conversions.
Right.
And so this just kind of clarifies that, says, yeah, you can convert into.
So this was just added to make it consistent with that reference.
Right, same.
About an additional use.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
could, convert one building to housing and one building to commercial.
Yeah, it seemed to be some confusion between, I didn't understand why principal building had to be invoked.
Just to be picky,
Why not
this is
just-
the wrong principle.
Use.
Yeah, I didn't write that original, so
Okay, okay.
I can't speak to why it was written that way.
You
So
want
is
the,
this
you want
principal-
the PAL principle, not the CIPLE, which is ethics and truth.
I'm not following.
Principle, there's two kinds of principle.
I thought,
This,
Oh,
Spelled
okay, okay,
different. PLE and PAL
okay.
at the end.
and I think you want the PAL one.
I thought we
Yeah, I
thought
thought-
we had an educated consensus that
we
it
had
was
somebody who
PLE.
was a PAL, and he said it should be PLE.
But-
Okay.
Well,
So that's
see,
just
the
an
board-
administrative kind of thing, it's not it doesn't really change
Right.
the substance of the ordinance.
So the word principal can be a noun that means the person in charge of a school, or an adjective that means first or most important. The word principal, PLE, is always a noun that means a main belief or general truth.
Main belief that you can only have one on the lot.
No,
Why don't we change it to
PAL.
PAL and,
We'll see how many more times we can change
Sorry,
it back and
I was,
forth.
it's one of those things that,
Yeah.
the there, here, principal.
And you weren't even
principal.
an English teacher, huh?
No, no,
like I said, that was, a
no.
principal
Yeah.
said,
Oh, Jeff did?
yes, Jeff did.
How funny.
So that was why it was that way.
So,
How ironic.
so then we added under the next page, under 3,
Let me just go back, just before you get to the next page.
yeah,
You had some problem with the sentence above that. You had said, what does this, we have to think about what this sentence means in your notes.
Oh,
If a use is permitted in table 4.1, the conversion of all or part of a single building, that use may be allowed. So it's a missing word. It's to that use may be allowed. And if you go back into the orange
Oh,
ordinance,
single
there's a
building.
to there, and I obviously left it out when I wrote this. So that's what was wrong with that sentence.
so where are we adding a 2?
Here,
Yeah, T-O, to.
All part of a single building.
to that use. Conversion to that use.
yep, so you're,
And then the second,
Oh, okay, yep,
the second thing was the definition of gross floor area. Just in the definition section. And, you know, I did read yours, I guess I sort of thought that 6 feet was actually a little trim to call it. I mean, if you had an entire floor that was only 6 feet high, it would just barely be livable. So I would advocate for upping that to 7. And then the question would be, do you exclude basements, lofts, mezzanines, enclosed porches, attic space with a permanent floor? Or do you include them? And I don't know the answers to those, but one thing that's out there is to include all of that stuff, but exclude garages, carports, open porches, decks, balconies, exterior stairs, and other unenclosed areas.
well, we did have discussion on the, when we changed it to 6 feet. Right, well, first of all, we have in our definition sections, we've got 3 gross floor area definitions, and so what we wanted to do was drop all 3 and have a single definition.
Amalgamate, yeah, right.
But the concern was that there are many houses that have a second floor that is only 6 feet tall.
The thing is that in real estate, you can't claim that as like living space. When you're selling a place, you can't say that that's a bedroom or whatever,
Really?
pretty sure.
Because we were
I mean, 6 feet is just not enough.
The place that we used to have, you know, where Lyme Electric is selling
Yeah,
the second floor is 6 feet, and David is 6'2", and he'd go up and stand like that, and they're claiming it's a bedroom, and it's not legit.
because yeah, I can speak from my sister's house,
Yeah.
and her second floor, there's a bathroom and 2 or 3 bedrooms up there, and it might be 6'1", I don't know, but it's,
Well, it does- it
my
doesn't-
head skims
Yeah.
the ceiling.
I think 6 feet's pretty tight.
I mean, I could probably settle for 6.5, but.
Yeah.
but, I
Was
would-
there anything that, I was thinking that the town, or that some agency actually considers 6 feet a bedroom. I mean,
I don't know of any, but I don't know, that's the,
You know, it might be, you know, like for instance, if you have a slanted roof,
Yes.
then you don't claim the whole
Right.
floor.
Right.
You just go to where it's 6 feet and you curtail the floor
Yeah.
area that you're calculating at the 6 foot mark. But
Right,
I think that's different, it's a whole different concept than when you have an entire floor that's only 6 feet tall. Because
right,
I mean, I don't know what proportion of the US population is taller than 6 feet, but it's fairly significant.
Oh,
one
yeah.
of these houses were built, they weren't. And so you had lower ceilings.
Have data.
Okay,
uh,
there you go.
In New Hampshire, a bedroom must have a minimum ceiling height of at least 7 feet across at least 50% of the required floor area to legally count as a habitable room.
hmm.
I mean, we don't have to do that,
Yeah.
I just think we should have an understanding of what the rules for some things are.
Right,
Yeah, I think this is just for calculating
The gross floor.
gross floor area.
Right,
And so,
and we've never seen, you know, Dowds or anything, so I don't think our judgment is affected in that regard.
right, but I think it's, you know,
But it's gonna be lower probably if we go to it's gonna be higher if we go to 6
it's gonna be a higher
feet.
number, but if legally they can't use that space to add units,
Yeah,
does it?
then it doesn't, it's not
It would
fair
be-
of us to
Right.
limit them.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think we can either flag it or change it. I think when the other board members come back, I think we're gonna end up having further discussion on this.
Okay, okay,
Uh,
so we'll just put an asterisk by the 7th. Okay, that was all I wanted to bring up. On that page anyway.
So,
The next thing was
so,
D, section D, number 3.
yeah, but while we're on the gross floor area, I don't think, where has that made it into our actual notes? Because obviously not seeing it on this thing that was,
I have it down at the very bottom, at the very end of the document.
Yeah, it's at the end of the site plan review section.
Right here,
Actually, it's on an extra
On the
page,
last-
isn't it?
it's just.
Yeah, it's on its own page just because
oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
because it really had, we're changing the zoning ordinance. And, I mean, I guess we probably should have put it up at the top, but it's, I put these things as,
So the sum of the gross floor area of each of the floors. So it seems
Yeah, you
like,
shouldn't say the sum of the gross floor area. You should say the sum of either the floor area or the total floor area of each of the floors. Because the gross floor area is what you're trying to define. So you
Yeah.
can't say the sum
Right.
of the gross floor areas.
because we did have discussion about, well, what about basements? Because one of these definitions, I'm on page 8 of the orange ordinance. Let's see, one of these, I guess for residential, the floor area of the residential building includes the attic, cellar, and garage floor areas only if used for living space. And so we had some discussion about, well, when is a basement area considered living space?
Yeah, I mean, and it's dynamic, you know, somebody can get approval and then they can finish their basement. You know, so it's making it happen, so it's, I don't know, I think it's hard to define it.
Yeah.
We might look to, Hebe, for example, to look up how New Hampshire defines it.
What are we looking at?
What the exclusions and inclusions are in terms of, you know, mezzanines, basements, attics, cellars, or.
It really depends on the building, you know, my in-laws' house, it's a split level ranch, and you go down the stairs and there are two bedrooms.
No, I get it, I get
Yeah,
it, I get it, but the state has gotta have some sort of way of dealing with that when it thinks about it.
But if somebody has, I think the discussion went something to the effect that if somebody has a, you know, well extract pump and a furnace in the basement, and there are no walls, then none of that is living area, but.
But that can be finished, I mean, I did that,
Yeah, that could be finished.
just put a utility room in and then finish the rest.
Exactly, so, but then at that point, it would be.
It was an Aetna.
Where I'm sure Nat got a permit, I know,
I'm sure.
I had to get
No,
one. to line
my
up.
own
Shouldn't
basement's
be.
only about 6 feet tall, so I
So,
don't, I don't
there's
try and
a,
finish.
there's a rather long, what is excluded is unfinished basements and unfinished attics, open porches, garages, exterior storage spaces. Then
They don't talk about enclosed or non-enclosed.
Open porches, garages, and exterior storage spaces are excluded. Included is all finished bedrooms, living rooms, kitchens, dining rooms, hallway closets, stairways, locate.
So why don't we go with that?
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I think it's, maybe you could
Yeah, well,
throw that to a printer or
copy and paste out of,
yeah,
okay.
right.
You want what's included and what's excluded?
I mean, I just think that probably makes sense, because that's what people are gonna argue about.
Right.
Because, I mean, there's other things that suggest, like, climate control, but I think, you know, you wouldn't do that for, I mean, cause you wouldn't say a camp is not a living space. And you know, even if it's a 3-season camp,
Uh-huh,
you don't have to have it climate controlled, so.
right. And this is, well, I guess it's for all purposes. So we want to include more definition.
Well, yeah, it specifically inclusions and exclusions,
Of inclusions and exclusions.
right?
You know, I mean, it depends how far you wanna go. I think we don't need to get into all the details of sanitation and egress.
Can you text me that, and I'll put together a draft that's got that on it, and,
Or how long would it take for us to just tell David?
well, I mean, but then you have to write it all down, and you probably wouldn't get it right.
Here it comes, I will.
Oh, okay.
He's doing it right on
I
this.
will email it to David.
Email it to me, then I'll just cut and paste and we'll put it right in there.
Perfect.
Um,
6 with an asterisk, you're already ahead of us here.
No subject line, incoming.
There we go, electrons were running slow today.
You missed the leading title that says what is included.
I intentionally did
Oh,
that.
gotcha.
There, with that, I can rewrite.
Okay.
mean, just because it doesn't say bathrooms, I think you could still say we're including bathrooms, you know?
Yeah. So are we on number 3? D3, limited expansion on lots with existing structures that exceed the maximum building footprint for the lot.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that this is an extremely confusing issue. And because of the different ways that that mathematically it can happen. And I didn't think that the right solution was to redefine this as applying only to buildings with already maximized buildings. I thought that, and let me just explain, just to see if I'm on the same page as you guys, that if a building is, for example, 20% below its maximum,
Yep.
then it can go to 20%, it can expand to 20%, in which case it's already over the 15%, and we will permit it no limited expansion.
Yes.
If, on the other hand, it is 10%, then we will, and it goes to the 10%, we will permit it another 5% limited expansion. And if it is maxed out, if it is at or above its maximum, we will permit it a full 15% limited expansion. Is that the way everybody thinks this should be applied?
That's an interesting thought. So somebody is just below the limit, and they can only go to
They can only go to a total expansion of
a
15.
total of expansion of 15.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we're saying is that we will permit no expansion if they can already expand 15% or more. We will permit up to 15% in anybody who has 0 to 14% ability to expand. We will permit up to 15.
So what
So-
if some, I mean, the whole point of conversion of the existing building was to preserve what you had.
Yeah,
So if somebody's like 25% under the maximum area, are you gonna let them go 25%?
Yeah, well, they have a right to do that, do I
Right.
not?
we,
Is that
we
not
thi-
true?
we think they have a right to
Okay.
do that.
So
Okay.
it's not a but we're not gonna call that limited expansion, because that requires a permit, okay, or a permission. And we're not going to
And
permit
they're entitled.
limited expansion. They can
They're
expand
entitled.
on the basis of the town ordinance. But if they can't get a full 15%, then we will make that whole by granting them a certain percentage. And all of this will be figured out in site plan review. So it doesn't need to be specified more than the following. Okay, here we go. An existing structure converted pursuant to this subsection may be expanded to the extent otherwise permitted under the applicable dimensional standards of this ordinance. Where those standards would permit an increase in building footprint of less than 15% of the building footprint existing at the time of application, the planning board may, through site plan review, authorize such additional limited expansion as is necessary to permit a total footprint expansion of up to 15%, provided that the additional expansion is necessary to support the conversion. Where the applicable dimensional standard would permit an increase in building footprint of 15% or more, no limited expansion shall be authorized under this subsection. Okay?
That's a lot of words.
Yeah, I know, but I think it works out. And I'm not sure how else to explain it.
No, I think,
I mean, the way I had it was sort of like that, except
Yeah.
that it did have a cap, and that cap is not, it was wrong.
Yeah.
Because there is no cap, because somebody may be that much lower than their max. So there is no cap, but there is a cap to what we will give, and it's based on the total expansion. Does that work for everybody?
It sounds like it, I mean, I think we should adopt, well, we should incorporate it and
See if it
then-
flies.
and see if it flies, yeah, see if it,
Okay, all right.
after we cogitate and we get,
Yeah, you have to read it a few times.
I'm
to
only
figure it
ever
out.
concerned about if there's any inherent unfairness, and it's not hitting me, but there is.
No, we're being overly fair. I mean, the 15%, we're preserving the 15%, which was not a number that we wrote, but it's there.
Yeah.
And we have to honor it because it was voted in.
Right.
And so, you know, we're just trying to deal with, okay, well, how do we work around that number? When David brought up, well, what if they can already expand 10%? Are we gonna give them another 15? That doesn't really make any sense. So, you know, this is the way to, I think, the way to do it if you're
and I hadn't really thought about it in that depth, but I think it makes sense, so.
But you know, it ultimately ends up being just a site plan review, you know, mathematical issue.
Yeah,
And that's when you can just sit there and parse out exactly what you're gonna permit them to do.
Yeah.
What happens to setbacks and things like that?
And that's something that's, I was gonna also bring that up is,
I think they have to honor setbacks.
they have to honor
They
setbacks
can't,
because there's nothing in here that says that 15% may be allowed into a setback.
But is there a variance?
They could go to and ask for a special exception. And in the Lyme Common District, that special exception would get them 500 square feet of intrusion into the setback, and that's as much as they could go.
Okay, so that's solved.
I mean, it sounds like we're trying to be fair and consistent with the intent of
Mm-hmm.
the ordinance that was passed by the town, so.
Right.
And we're giving it a little bit of flesh so that
I'm just,
people can understand it
It's
3
always
years from
helpful
now.
for me to be really concrete, just to think of an example.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not doing spot zoning or anything, but I think Dowd's is right up against a couple of its setbacks.
Yep.
Yeah,
already.
maybe,
But they could.
There are other directions
They
in
could go
which they
back.
could expand.
They can go back, they
Yeah.
can go east.
Towards Stellar's?
Yep. No,
No, that's west.
east.
Towards the country store?
Diebold and then Lyme Country Store.
They're pretty close into, on that edge too.
well, they've got
The,
that terrace.
well,
over
the
the
tavern is,
tavern.
but if you go past the tavern, the area that, you know, where they have all the rooms
Oh, yeah.
upstairs, that part is
Well away. Yeah.
well away.
Yeah,
From the, property line, yep, okay.
but then they have that little auxiliary building that's right on the property line.
Yep, and that's,
And then I also, after I changed that, then I read through it and I decided that rather than saying this expansion, I said the permission for limited expansion under this section is a one-time event and shall not be allowed on subsequent conversions. So that means that if they didn't request anything because they could already expand, then they never activated this. And so they are able to use it again.
Oh, my.
But that's fair, because they actually expanded with not using the limited expansion.
Mhm.
So it seemed unfair to take that away. Although frankly, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out what they would be converting to in the future. but, you know.
Well, I can imagine somebody saying, well, I wanna go from 15 rooms or 15 units to 17 or 16. So I have to move some walls, and therefore this is a
But
conversion.
is that a conversion?
Well,
I guess so.
Or,
So wait a second. We've got a place that wants to do the conversion, they're under the limit, they expand to the limit. Are you saying a subsequent conversion would give them the 15%?
Above that limit?
Yeah.
Cause that seems like
Yeah.
not exactly.
Well,
what
I
we
mean,
had.
it's just a question of,
That
if it's
seems like-
if it's a one-time thing and they didn't use it, then they still have the one time.
Seems like, but you can't do it up front.
You could say it's a one-time offer, and
But
if
you-
you
but you
don't
see-
use it, you forfeit it.
That's the thing.
That's the
because-
other
because
way of
otherwise you-
saying it.
If you don't do it up front, I mean, you don't use it up front, that's a way to game the system, because at the moment, you say you expand up to the limit, and if you've gotten your 15%, that's it.
Yeah.
And so then you come back 5 years
Well,
later.
it's a policy decision. I mean,
Yeah.
if we think it should,
Yeah.
go the other way, then that's fine. It was just, I had to change it a little bit to the permission rather than the expansion itself, because the expansion itself wasn't necessarily actually taking place, because the limited expansion was not being offered if they could expand on their own. So I made it the permission, and you could switch the permission to the offer of limited expansion. If you wanted to try and cover the wording and say that offer is a one-time offer and will not be offered on subsequent conversions. So is that the way we think it should be?
I don't.
No.
I agree with you that it should be honored, and the reason for that is because what happens if they don't do a expansion in a conversion? So again, take Dowd's as an example. They say, expanding this building, not in the cards for money-wise, so we're going to just work with what we have. We do the conversion. Then in 5, 6, 10 years down the line, say, wow, that conversion was really successful. But we didn't convert everything. We converted part of the building. That's worked out really well. We converted downstairs floors. Now we want to do upstairs rooms, and we need an elevator. We need that expansion. They're already at the limit, they can't. And then they would have lost the ability to get that expansion.
I'm cool
Well,
with
that's
it,
a good,
I'm
that's
just
a
trying to
good
make,
point.
I think that that's
Yeah.
fine. I just wanted to be clear that that's what we're saying.
Yeah. I just think that,
Me too. I think it can go either way.
Yeah,
It's not gonna happen that often,
No,
so.
it probably will
No.
never happen, but that's,
We're spending 6 months
Well,
on
you
this
do
for
write a
something
lot of
never
stuff
happened.
that never happens.
and Rich will back me up. When you're programming and doing data conversion, you spend 10% of your time to get 90% of the data and 90% of your time to get the other
Right.
10%. And that's what we're doing here, is
All the time.
spending 90% of the time getting that 10%,
Yep.
or that very small percentage of,
Okay, so you liked it the way that I had it to begin with. The permission for limited expansion under this section is a one-time event and shall not, no, excuse me.
No, no, no.
No, the offer of this, the offer for limited expansion under this section.
I don't
How
like
do-
the
how do we
offer
wanna
as
say
a,
it? How do we wanna say it?
The ability,
The permission is a one-time event, that's right. Under this section, it's a one-time event and should not be allowed on subsequent conversions, but that's the permission. That doesn't mean they can't, if they were never permitted for it, then they never got the permission, so they can ask for it again.
okay.
In other words, you can only get the permission once.
Yep.
So the way I've got it then is the way that it's a little bit confusing. I wouldn't grant you, but it is correct. I'm trying to limit the words, there are already so many words, but maybe I can prune it down. But anyway, now I understand what we want, so I can do my best
So,
to say.
I mean, I would love to, I don't know whether David can type in what you've got, but I'd love to see us have this document so that,
You have it,
I can give it to you.
yeah, you just give it, I can then
Yep.
okay,
send it out again. Because I am not gonna get that
right.
written.
So that's all that was on there, but let's see what the other,
I think that's it.
And I think when you're looking at my notes at the bottom,
After that, it goes to site plan review.
Yeah.
And,
no, there
so-
was one other thing that we did talk about, was the section 4.41, we did principal building on an activity on lots.
Right. That
Which is
we just-
included in the minutes.
We discussed that. Principal,
but I think actually going 4.41, the section.
Yeah, we actually, at our last meeting, we went into section 4.41. Because that talks about principal building and activity on lots. And that, what we talked about was that this says there shall be only one principal building and one principal activity on a lot unless otherwise approved under the lot size averaging subdivision, et cetera, but doesn't have any.
this is a new one?
Well,
So it says
so
this twice?
Well, it does go into the multi-dwelling and conversion provision, which is section 4.46. So I know Vicky brought that up, but I'm not entirely sure that it needs to be changed, because it does, state, yes, only one principal building, and yes, it's marked principal.
So
You're talking about 4.41.
Right.
So it says,
And I
unless otherwise approved under lot size averaging, multi-dwelling and conversion provision, section 4.46. So I thought what you
Yeah.
added
So
was to
did-
cover that.
Right, what we added in 4.46 was just to say, here in 4.46, we are allowing
Right.
multiple.
So are we now discussing whether we should be allowing, or, because
No,
we already allowed to
We're
use.
agreeing that you can have multiple buildings, multiple principal use buildings.
Yeah. And I say the 4.41, to me, is clear, that says, yes, you can only have one principal building with these exceptions, and one of the exceptions is section 4.46.
Right.
Yeah,
And so when you go to 4.46, 4.46 expressly says, you can do this.
Right.
Okay, so did you say buildings or did you say uses in your 4.46?
conversion may take place on a lot in conjunction with construction that results in more than one principal use on a lot.
So that doesn't actually say, it doesn't address principal buildings. It suggests it,
Right,
but it doesn't
yeah.
actually say it.
I also think that 4.41 probably should be changed from one principal activity to principal use, but that's just,
You mean, you wanna change 4.41?
yeah,
Just the word
activity
activity
to use.
to use.
Oh, okay, I mean, do we really wanna get that far afield on this?
All I'm pointing out is when I read that,
We want
I-
consistent language.
that is inconsistent, because that's probably the only time you see the word activity.
English is squirrely enough without
Yeah.
dancing
And I-
around multiple ones.
Yep, and if you just clarify it as, what is an activity? Does that mean I can have one principal building and I can run my bicycle around the lot? Or does that mean I can do multiple uses? It doesn't.
Okay.
So we're,
Okay, so you wanna change that to use and then you're done with it, or
Yeah,
do you want to change the edit to 4.46 to include building?
Go back and look at that.
That results in more than one principal use and one principal building on the lot.
I would personally prefer to have building in there, just to be very clear.
Right,
Yeah, I
so,
think-
so
I
what
think
I just said,
Yep.
yeah, okay, so that's fine. So that needs to be changed,
one principal use
and one principal building
and,
on the lot.
But do we want an and there, or do we want an and or?
oh my goodness, yeah.
I think that's a good,
Because otherwise you're
Yeah,
restricting,
yeah, don't want to
gotta
restrict.
have two buildings or.
Yeah. Good catch.
okay. So I think with the language that that's gonna give you, we might,
I think we might have
we might be at the
a
goal line.
good draft.
Good draft, yeah. At the goal line for the draft. And we still need to have one public hearing, or do we have to have multiple public hearings?
At least one.
Uh-huh.
So it goes to public hearing and somebody says, boy, you messed up.
Yeah.
And the board says, yeah, we did. So the board changes it,
Yeah,
then you have to do a second public hearing. No earlier than 14 days after that first public hearing.
okay,
So you need to plan for that second public hearing, even if you don't intend to use it, because if you
Yeah.
need it,
okay.
So.
I'm almost thinking that, I mean, it's essentially almost August. So once the kids are back in school and stuff, it seems like maybe September, we might wanna have a hearing on this, so we can kinda button this down and while we're working on whatever our next order of business is.
I don't know what process we have to, if it allows for this, but I think communication is an important
Right.
feature of government, and it makes people much calmer to know what's going on.
Mhm.
So if we would share a draft of this out sooner rather than later, and let the folks who drafted the original petition
Yeah,
come in and talk to us about their thoughts before we go to the public hearing.
I think that's a fair thing.
very excellent idea.
I think
Yeah.
it will reduce friction.
Yeah, certainly if Pat and Lynn Parshall and
Correct.
stuff, if we could get their input and,
Yeah.
and I think it would go a long way to,
Yes.
helping things go through smoother in March.
Yes,
So I think that's a great idea.
I think Lynn's grandchildren have finally gone, so she might have some
Oh.
time. So, can you take charge of sending that out to?
Yeah, well, let's get one more draft with,
From-
and have a fuller board go through it one
Okay.
more time.
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
critical.
Just because more eyes.
Okay,
Yeah,
and if I say Lynn, I'll tell her that that's the plan.
okay, sure.
There's actually one more problem on this. It's right after that sentence of the one principal use. Any conversion requires site plan, any conversion requiring site plan review as noted in table 4.1 must meet comply.
Yeah,
Meet should be removed. I think, comply
Yeah.
is probably a
Yeah.
better term.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the only other thing I saw.
Extra sets of eyes.
Yep. So, let's do, if we think we're happy with this, let's jump into the site plan review, as it relates to, changes as it relates to this,
Okay,
which is.
apologies, Nat, I hacked your stuff up and deleted a lot of it, and I do have reasons why, but it's, certainly can go back in, I just, so don't take offense.
What did you do? Just give me the overview.
What I did, so, I felt a lot of that should go in the site plan review regulations. So I broke up the things that you would put in, and most of it went into the site plan review regulations, but some of it, a couple of small things, I felt needed to stay in the ordinance. So I moved those to a more appropriate area in the ordinance and tried to condense stuff down.
But not in 4.46.
Not in 4.46.
Okay.
So which, so what is going into the ordinance, starting at the very beginning, 12.1?
So,
Oh, I get it. So.
I'm just looking through,
So
This is,
one of them was 12.1, one of them was 3.1, one of them was
yeah, so,
10.
again, those are, and let me explain a few of them. What I moved into, the zoning ordinance was from the applicability. And, I basically took out most everything, and all I did is add into 1210, which is the site plan review authorization,
In the zoning ordinance?
in the zoning ordinance.
Yep.
There's a big run-on sentence in there that talks about uses for structures containing more than 2 dwelling units, whether or not such a development includes subdivision or re-subdivision of the site. And then I said, and site plans submitted under section 446 of the Lyme zoning ordinance involving the conversion or adaptive reuse of an existing structure.
Mhm.
And so putting that in the authorization is saying, So-
this is where you go.
this is, you know, if you're doing that, it is authorizing a site plan review.
Right.
And so I just took yours, the applicability, and just kind of moved it into,
Got it,
and kind of compacted it down a little bit.
right.
Then everything else got moved into the site plan review regulations. Now, I'll start with your purpose. There is a purpose within the site plan review regulations, and I just added that to the end of the purpose. Basically just said, establish the procedures and review criteria applicable to applications submitted pursuant to section 446 conversions of the Lyme zoning ordinance. So basically the purpose is to create procedures and review criteria for conversions.
So this goes under 3.1. Do you have a copy of the site plan review?
I do.
Maybe I should sit next to
Why-
you.
Yeah, if you wanna come
I
over
don't-
Do
here.
you want me to go grab, I can go grab a couple of
yeah, I
extra
don't think I
copies.
have one.
I just don't understand the organization here.
Yeah,
Where does
let
this
me-
3.1 come from?
So there haven't, I'd be interested to see what he's got for a date, because mine's kinda old, but we haven't done
I
anything
don't
to
think
these.
I don't remember any
So
changes.
I think before you came on, I had noted something to David that I saw, that I had written in by hand when we did the senior housing
Mm,
ordinance. There was a single line which I just
I
wrote in
saw
my.
in the minutes that Vicky so we have to delete all the stuff about senior housing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just under, there's an Article 4, which is types of development requiring site plan review. And it talks about all new principal buildings and accessory buildings for multi-dwelling and non-residential use.
Here's an extra one also, Rich.
Cottage industries, a change of layout for multi-dwellings.
2019.
2019, okay. I believe I actually have one of those, but.
David, do you have another copy of that document that we're talking about?
The original of,
I guess so, yes, that's, and then what you've done is shifted around some of it.
yeah, and so, original and shifted around.
Oh, excellent, thank you.
Okay, so what you're doing, it looks like, is
Integrating your stuff.
Your stuff
into the general text of the site plan review
Yes.
instead of allowing it to be in its own section.
Yes,
Okay, okay.
and
I thought I was actually asked to put it in its own section.
You may have been.
I think I was. I mean, I didn't do it.
apologize.
I didn't do it just I think I was asked to do it, and then it worked out so well that, because it just meant you just flip to that page and you can create
the issue is that, somebody's doing a site plan. Having to go back and forth
Spaghetti
between
code.
the ordinance and the site plan to get requirements, really is a bad idea. People will miss stuff. You look in the site plan and they give you a site plan and you say, well, you're missing all this stuff. It's right here in the zoning ordinance. And so, you
But-
want to,
But we can clarify that before we put it up to, before we submit it. We can go over every single one of them. You mean when you're preparing for the site plan review?
when a person is preparing a site plan to come to the site plan review,
Oh, I see.
having to send them.
One-stop shopping makes a lot more sense.
You're
Well,
right.
that's why I did it that way.
Yeah.
Because I put it in its own section. And so all they had to do was go to that section and it had the entire site plan review
For
for
a convert.
4.46.
I see.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's organized, so that's one-stop shopping.
Very true. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit, again, I'm looking at a site, I wanna do a map for, site plan. And, or a building layout plan. I look at the requirements for the building layout plan, don't know I need to go to another section. It doesn't fit well with the layout of the site plan, or of the site plan regulations. So I tried to integrate it in with the current layout without changing the whole.
So maybe we should just add appendixes to the regulations that address certain things that are complicated.
Well, we
Like
have this
4.46.
document, I mean, I don't, when somebody prepares a site plan for a project, whether it's this project or something else, it's included in this document here, so it's not like, oh, well, I'm using the site plan guidance requirements from the zoning ordinance. I didn't know I needed to go to the town site plan regulations document.
But I'm
So-
still suggesting that you can pretty easily write a section that deals specifically with what your application is being sent in for.
Uh-huh.
And that's gotta be easier than reading than trying to pick out where does this apply to
Well,
what I want to apply.
The thing is, because there are some things that are applicable, there are things that are applicable, all site plans.
Right.
And so,
But that's not lost when you go to an appendix that has, whether it's applicable to all site plans or not, it's included on the list.
Then are you saying you take everything that applies to the conversions, pull all of those pieces out and put them in one appendix.
Exactly.
So you're.
So that it's simple
So
for,
so you're duplicating,
you're duplicating, that's right, and you're grouping it. You're grouping it because frankly, that's the first thing they're probably gonna do, is try and make a list of the stuff that they have to do. And so if you give them a list, then it's a little simpler. And if you don't wanna put it in the general text, if you'd rather integrate it into the general text, that would be fine. But you could just put an appendix, useful appendix. These are the absolutes of site
See,
plan review
anytime-
for 4.46.
I think that leaves leaves you in a vulnerable position, because if you don't specify it, and it's not done, you know, you have to be able to go through the comprehensive list and make sure that of every dot and tittle, see what applies. That
Right.
if,
Well,
if
it's not-
a perfect job of pulling things out is not done, then it leaves the planning board in a vulnerable
Yeah.
position.
I mean, there's a lot of,
Well, no, the planning board can use whatever thing they want, but if the applicant will use the shorthand. And if the applicant misses one thing, then, we give them some slack, But basically, I think we can check over that before we go forward with 4.46 and be sure that the regulations, that the appendix regulation. I don't wanna do this if nobody agrees with me, but I'm just making my case.
No, I understand your case, I just think that first of all, the regulations have format, a flow to them. This goes completely against that flow.
Which is why I said, put it in an appendix.
Well, right, but even that, so, you have an appendix that, unless it repeats everything in the rest of the site plan, and, when you look at the application requirements, it talks about department reviews, public notices, summary of the proposal, traffic and parking plan. That's, all that information needs to be included in any site plan. And so by putting all this information in with all that other information, if somebody's reading it and says, oh, I'm doing a conversion, and one of the things I've added is a procedure when you're doing a conversion. And so it has, a new article that has that procedure. So, okay, I'm doing a conversion, here's the planning board's procedure on what they're going to be looking at. And then within the application requirements, we've added all the things that are required for a conversion. And so you're not having to go through all the application requirements here, make sure you've got all these, and then go over to this appendix and make sure you have all those. You're just reading through everything and it's all there.
yeah.
Okay.
I respect your thoughts on this, but I think we should go with what David has,
Okay.
and I think he has taken your ideas and his intent was to take your ideas and incorporate them in, which.
I did, there were some things that I did leave out intentionally, and I have my master here of everything I left out, so we can talk about those things and decide whether
Yeah,
they need to go back in or not, that's. but
so
that's-
as we're looking at your document, then, under the title, Changes to Site Plan Review Regulations.
Yeah, I have it broken up, it's changes to the zoning ordinance and changes to the regulations, those are the
Right.
two.
So the only thing I can't really tell is what the new stuff is versus, it looks like on 3.1 purpose, maybe it's just that last line.
Right,
It's
it's-
a little bit different font.
Yeah, the last, it is
Establish the procedures and
yeah,
review.
that's
criteria. Okay, so that's,
and sorry, I had everything highlighted and I lost it, and
okay.
I ran out of time.
but it looks like you're in Times New Roman and Arial or
Yep.
something different.
Right, it
fonts,
is a different font.
So we can use that different.
And I will go back, as I said, by the time I got through this, it was close to 6:30.
Yeah. So, so under purpose, we're talking about this provides the procedures for section 4.46. And then we've
So
got the.
this is just a long list, this purpose,
Yes.
right? So it would make sense if you put A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you know, because otherwise it
We
just
could,
looks like
this is,
unbelievably long run-on sentence.
it is, and.
You know, why not do it in what's considered
We could go
organizational
through,
methodology?
this purpose, everything in it, the entire thing except that last sentence was taken verbatim out of the site plan review document.
That's what's existing. in
That's
our
what's
site
existing
plan.
right now. So I just left that as it was
Can
and.
can you pull this document up there, because you might get the color?
The site.
See,
No, I don't have, I copied everything and then
because
filled all.
you're printing,
Right, this is another document.
Oh, I see.
That I have all my,
I see.
that is going to be even far more confusing to look at.
Do you have this document on, that you could pull up?
I do,
Why don't you do that, because then you can just pull the cursor over it.
And if you're looking at your copies of the site plan review regs, you can pull up, go to the page 3, which
See,
is
if, look,
purpose.
if this is what David can do to show
Okay.
you what,
yeah, that's,
I
Yeah.
think that'll make things easier to track.
So everything else
everything else
was there before.
Yeah.
was there before, and
And we're hoping to not get into a deep dive
yeah,
of
it
the
makes
site
no
plan review. if
to me whatsoever if you wanna list them, we can list them. I just,
Well, I think if you keep talking about 4.46, people can get the document electronically and do a Command F and find those references as they cruise through.
So the next one is, we go to Article 10.
yeah, so now, if you go back to the original site plan review, you have Article 9 and Article 10 on page 10.
Yeah.
I am inserting a new article after 9 and before 10, which means I have changed 10, and everything else beyond that is gonna have to get changed. But,
Okay.
um,
So existing Article 10 will become an Article 11,
Yes.
presumably?
And what is the new article, what's its article procedure when converting, is that?
yep, that's the,
Because Article 10 just says application requirements.
right, but if you look at Article 9, those are the procedures when
Okay.
things are, there are certain
Okay,
triggers
yeah,
that trigger different procedures. And I
So
should-
this is a procedure when converting to multi-dwelling under zoning ordinance 4.46.
Yeah,
I think you wanted to say to a multi-dwelling. Yeah,
period right there.
So this is saying when a site plan is converting a building or buildings.
And then this,
So that's application requirements. That's what that's, no, excuse me, it's its own one,
Yeah.
so it's its own number. So you have done this, this is essentially what I did.
no, I took your wording verbatim.
No, but you created a new article,
Right.
that's what mine did also.
But this, what I did is I created a new article within the site plan review, inserted it where I felt it fit the best, not put it at the end.
Okay. Okay.
And so, a lot of what was,
Oh, so 10.2, so all of these, 10.1, 10.2, 10.
Yeah, that's all
It
comes.
That's all
looks like you have
comes
two
from,
10.2s. Should that be a 10.3?
it probably should, again, I was going through this afternoon, and I have not had a chance to, and actually, I already picked that up.
The purpose.
Oh, so you changed that.
Yep, and it just happens that,
Yeah.
that right there was,
Okay.
all right, so, the planning board shall determine that the structure is eligible for conversion pursuant to section 4.6A, including, and it listed,
They listed that's eligibility determination.
Not exactly.
right, it's not, that's, now, I have a note in here, and the note is that, under zoning district is required, which would now be in 11. I think it's 11.5.5, yes. Again, this was all written and then had to go back and change things, but 11.5.5 is a site plan general map, and it requires that the zoning district be included on the map, so, I think, you know, I put in the note that the zoning district is required there, so that you're going to have the zoning district presented to you. And then I took out, I should have taken out that and, I think I wanted to remember that you also had any other eligibility requirements contained in section 4.46.
And there are no other ones.
Right, and to me, that, those kind of catch-all, you know, if there are other eligibility requirements, then they should be here saying, this is, again, don't keep sending people back to the zoning ordinance to try to find stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you have an eligibility requirement, it should be right here.
Yeah, I picked that up also when last time I went through this.
So that was my only thing that I removed from there. Then the maximum number of units,
So you did not think that it made sense to classify the conversion that's being proposed?
I started reading through that, and it just got confusing as to why.
Just simply because this expanded residential conversion is a different circumstance.
Yep.
Not only by district, but by density, what you can do, the whole structure of it's different, as opposed to the general conversion rule. And then, I didn't frankly understand, when I wrote this, how a conversion of a residential building to a non-residential use fit into this all, whether it was overlaid or it was a separate issue. So I just listed it as a third one. And you know, but I do figure that there was a significant difference between 4.46D and conversions in general. So I figured it probably made sense to classify what you're looking for. In the application.
Yep, but I'm not sure that it needs to be an official, you know, it's gonna be pretty clear what people are doing, and if not, then questions are gonna be asked and it'll come out.
Okay. I was just interested in the understandability,
Yeah.
or from the point of view of the applicant.
And, you know, yeah, I have no issues putting any of that back in. I just, let me go back to,
And so then we go to maximum residential unit calculation. It looks like it was pretty much the same.
the last sentence, I had changed. So you, basically, this is where the constraints of the lot from there on.
Oh yeah, where's the 750 business?
The 750, that is actually, to me, that was clear in the zoning ordinance, and that was, you know, it's in section 466, or 446. And, you know, just like any dimensional control, I didn't see the need for putting it back in, you have something specific like that in the ordinance, putting it in the site plan. If it gets changed in the ordinance, did it get changed in the site
Right.
plan?
Does it appear as, does gross floor area appear here as a question?
Yes,
And its definition?
yes. So I have, as we go forward, adding in some stuff into Article 11, which was Article 10, now is 11. I added another, was it multi-dwelling conversions under zoning ordinance section 446, provide documentation showing age of the structure. You wanna know, you want that information. Evidence that the structure has been served by wiring, heating, plumbing, including sanitary facilities during the previous 5 years. You're gonna want some sort of documentation that shows that it's going to meet that criteria. Any previous conversion, which means they have to come in here and go through the file and look for it. And then gross floor area existing within the structure at the time of the application.
Yeah, okay.
And total new number of units based on the criteria set forth in section 4.46D2A, which is where it talks about, so,
750.
yeah, it specifically sends you to the, not just go to section 4.46, but go to this section right here. And then the next one was dealing with the non-residential use that you need to show in your building layout plan. Being very specific, going back to that section 10.7 of the site plan review, showing that not less than 40% of the gross floor area of the building is retained for residential use.
Well, you're gonna have to convince me that this is easier than what I did. Because it doesn't seem like it. Seems like it's very complicated back and forth, and it's not all in one place, it's not one-stop shopping, but that's
Well,
what you want.
It's, putting it all in one section is not one-stop shopping either. Because you have a huge amount of requirements for a site plan. That's just basic information that's required on a site plan that you have to include. And, you know, yes, you could say, okay, if you're going to do this type of a site plan, now you need to go over here. All I did was just put it into the existing format of,
It seems to me it might be easier to work it in the opposite direction. If you need to talk about, I mean, one of the things you brought up was maybe the specifics of the diagram they had to produce, okay? So, you know, I think mine does say that you need a a physical plan, but you could refer them to the regulation in the regulations, from the regulations. In other words,
Yeah, you could.
you could, you know, if you don't wanna go into detail there, because it is sort of boilerplate, then you could refer them to the boilerplate in another section. In other words, refer them out of it instead of trying to put it all in different places within it.
Yeah, and what we also could do is, I think in the ordinance, and you would say, if you were doing this type of, multi-dwelling conversion, site plan for that, you would, all the criteria in this document, you have to, basically fulfill all the criteria listed in this document and the following items.
I mean,
So,
one of the things that we have, one of the advantages I think that we have is if we can separate this out, there's less I think as you're proposing that, we would end up having all of this stuff go through town meeting, whereas the mechanics of us approving the site plan regulations requires us to have a hearing, but that's something that the planning board on its own approves. So we're starting to get into a lot of detail here that we're then going to have to get the town on board to support and pass it, so it could
No,
end up
I
failing.
mean, I wrote it as an article within the regulations.
Right,
Okay, so that's in the regulations, that doesn't have to go before the town, right?
No, if we could take what you wrote and we could drop it in at the end of the regulations, and it just,
in the end of the site plan review
Right.
regulation.
it just, to me, there's a flow of the site plan review regulations, and this just dumping it at the end, to me, just really disrupted that flow.
Yeah, but a lot of town documents are that way because they happen at different times, they weren't all created at the same time.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
So it's understandable, I mean,
Yeah, no,
look at the housing chapter, if we ever write it, it's gonna be like 13 years after the first thing was done. That's the way it works in New England
Oh,
towns.
and, if that's the way it goes, the board wants, that's fine with me, I just, I was asked to integrate it into the site plan,
Yeah,
and so that's
okay,
what I did. And
yeah.
if that's not the way that people wanna go, that doesn't, it's no, I have no,
I guess I mean, I'll spend some time trying to figure out if everything is in this.
So
and
now,
there is-
how would,
And try and figure out,
and there's a huge section that you had, about what the board's considerations are. And I removed that, and that's, again, that's why I've been trying to, and you have it under site capacity review. I completely took that section out because when reading through the site plan, that is all part of a site plan review already. And so I felt that it was, that could be removed because, that's part of, when you look at the application requirements. Take fire protection and life safety. There is a department review, and that's the review from the fire department, and that's what their review is going to cover. And so, to me, all that was kind of duplicated. And again, could very easily go back
It was, yeah, it was duplicated because the article was supposed to be self-contained.
Yeah.
It was supposed to have everything that was necessary for conversions, and I guess you thought it didn't really.
I don't think it does,
So-
because when you look at the application requirements in Article 10,
Yeah,
it doesn't contain, you know, what size plan is necessary. You know, do you need a plan of the site? Do you need a plan of the building? Do you need both?
All the
Yeah,
specifications
our
for
Article
the, for
10
the map.
specifies all that. And again, you could very easily re-reference Article.
was that the bulk of it, of the problem? Or were there other areas?
That was, of the stuff I deleted, that was the bulk of it was right there. There are a few things that
That I missed? The bulk of what
Yeah.
I missed was.
Yeah, was in your Article
the-
10.
Was the, no, was the
Oh.
regulations about the plan.
Right, which is Article 10 includes the, you know, the site plan general map, you know, there's your
Okay,
your plan. But it also, you know, the department of reviews, the public notice list, you know, that's all stuff that they need to provide.
Well,
okay.
I'm just wondering how we can review this. It almost seems like, I'm speaking off the top of my head here, but if the site plan review regulations aren't that long, is it possible, is it reasonable for, have you got a document that includes your changes into our site plan review?
No, I haven't gotten that far.
Because I'm wondering if you were to do that, if it was to be marked in red, you know, highlighted the edits, whether that would be a useful thing for us to look at, and then,
Well, you know,
We-
as far as, you know, we have, basically, we're changing, we're adding a couple of, you know, one section, or inserting one section and renumbering everything else and adding a couple of pieces into section 10, which are the current section 10, which would become 11.
and maybe that's all we need to do is you could start with, you know, the first place where
Yeah.
it starts to get changed, and then
3-1.
go through to where the numbering is consistent again, so that we can,
It's like an
We can see
afternoon's
that.
work, I think.
Yeah, well, as I said, this was an afternoon's worth of work,
Yeah.
and,
So, I mean, that
Well,
might be.
thank you
the-
for doing it.
Yeah.
oh, no, that's,
That might be the easiest way for everybody to get a
yeah.
unified, but having it in red will make it.
yeah.
And that, I'm sorry, because I asked David to do this, because I wasn't sure how this, I wasn't sure how this was to be incorporated. What your site plan review stuff, what was to be incorporated. Because I thought,
I could have sworn somebody actually asked me to pull it out, and I thought it was you.
well, I'm sorry, I may have, and I apologize.
You
I
know,
just couldn't figure
and
out
frankly,
where
when
my-
I did, then it was, then I felt it was much more straightforward.
Uh-huh.
But I think it's straightforward from a sort of a less comprehensive point of view.
Yeah, well, it could be made more comprehensive.
Well, I think,
But we don't wanna we don't wanna have to replicate all, you know, all 20 pages or whatever of the site plan review.
Well, I think,
stuff.
you know, it's just a question of, you know, the complexity of the ordinance you're writing, you know, and I think that, yeah, I mean, I don't see that there's a problem. If you write a complex ordinance, then I don't see what the problem is, and, I mean, as you point out, it's not that thick a book. And, you know.
But I mean, it does have all the details, you know, we want 1 inch equals 20 plan scale, we want, you know, lighting, we want fire, we want wastewater, we want.
I think I've got
those
all of
things.
that, except for the 1 in 20.
Yeah,
And I mean,
maybe,
it'd be very easy to take what you wrote, add it to the very end, and then say, you know, in addition to all the other
Do this.
requirements in Article 10, here are, you know, all the things that you have to.
Yeah.
You have to do all of this and also all of the stuff.
Okay.
And again, that's a perfectly fine way of doing it, I have no issues with doing it that
and
way.
if we have contradictions, then the planning board has to figure that out.
If we have contradictions, it's still written into this regulations that the stricter apply.
Yeah,
And the only way the reason I chose to do it this way is, you know, I'm looking at the table of contents,
yeah,
and I couldn't, you know, putting it at the end as either an appendix or another article at the very end seemed to just really break up the flow of the document.
yeah.
And that's, you know, that was
And
a,
then there's that whole checklist when you do site plan review,
right, well then if you're doing the checklist will have to change.
right? And the,
Well, a lot of times we go through that checklist and
We
it's
say doesn't
irrelevant, we
apply,
say it didn't
yeah.
apply,
Right,
and, you know,
and that, right, those
and
things
I
would
was
be.
trying to actually eliminate those by focusing it on the application
yeah,
that we,
I think it leaves the planning board vulnerable.
And again, you know, to me, it does not matter, I'm,
Well, I mean, it's 8:30, I think if you could forward, the pages where there are changes.
I can just take a copy of the site plan review, add in what I had changed in red,
Yes,
and, you know, that will take me a couple hours,
we'll see what everybody thinks.
Yeah,
and then,
it's not necessarily dead,
I mean,
that's.
you'll just make a
fine.
copy, so you go back one copy.
Right, oh yeah, no, I don't,
Like, so it's
or I'll
not,
just toss a copy, and
exactly,
if we go the other way, we'll make another copy
That's right.
with everything at the end.
right. Makes
and
sense.
I'll send you the edited copy of the use regulations and the definition.
Good,
So, I'm not sure I'm gonna be here for the next meeting. And I wanted to,
is that like the 13th?
the 13th, I may be out of town then, but, I wanted to see where we're gonna go next, cause Nat has done some work on a cottage court, ordinance. But I don't wanna, I think we need to keep our focus to get this done, but on the other hand, I think we also need to be thinking about how and if we're going to put together a cottage court.
I think if we can get the whole board together to make a decision
Yeah,
that the board wants to go in that direction.
if it wants to, yeah.
Right, and then if it wants to, then, because we haven't really had a meeting with a full board or close to a full board.
Right,
And if we can get that, even if, you know, get 4 out of the 5 members, then,
My own feeling is that the cottage court, given the circumstances, should have a higher priority than lodging and accommodations. You know, and I did them both, and I did all the, you know, the work on both.
I think
And I-
for trying to get greater amount of housing in the town, you know, you're gonna get a bigger bang for your buck out of cottage courts than doing
And I
it.
think we've got a situation where the iron is potentially at least lukewarm here.
Yeah.
And putting it off for a year just doesn't seem like a good idea. And I recognize it's gonna be difficult. to get through
Yeah,
the whole thing, because it, you know, compared to, this is simple compared to cottage court ordinance. This 4.46 is a piece of cake.
yeah.
It's way more complicated. And particularly, it's not complicated because, you know, the things that from other towns actually look relatively simple. But when you add in Lyme, absence of septic and sewer, and the, you know, the fact that it's just gonna be in the village, and you want it to have a good street appearance, you want it to, and you don't want the planning board to have the headache of trying to maintain their septic systems, or their water runoff, or their water supply, or, you know,
So
you
you
have to sort of Lyme-ize those things.
Yeah, there are a lot of things in there that are not compatible with Lyme.
Right.
So you would restrict cottage courts to the common district, is that what you're saying?
I think common and commercial was my initial idea.
Because I know when Tim was talking about it, he was saying
Tim,
Cook.
uh-huh,
He thought the rural district would be appropriate in some areas.
boy,
Well, I think that's
I
a
think
policy
big
decision.
bite, yeah.
I mean, Tim's not on the,
No, he's
Board.
not, but that when we asked him how he would think about improving affordable housing in Lyme, he thought
Hmm.
cottage courts, cluster housing was kind of,
Well, yeah, I think there's a difference between cluster
Well, I
housing
mean,
and
but
cottage
he-
courts, but,
the picture he drew was
Uh-huh.
just like that.
yeah,
With, you know, you take a large plot of land and you concentrate the housing in one spot, and then you have the rest of it be protected.
I don't know, I did talk with Tim about this. Or I haven't talked to David about it, but I did talk to Tim, and he did not come across with that. I
think it's a plan, I think what you might be talking about is a planned development, which that's yet another thing in terms of whether we change the definition to allow strictly residential planned developments, but, yeah, I'm also interested in knowing what the RPC has, and I'm also, Ray brought in 3 examples of ordinances, but only one of them, I think, has been passed. So I don't know what the status of, the other 2 are, whether they've.
Well, I bet there's more than 3.
Well, there was supposedly, I mean, it was mentioned in the minutes that the RPC, you mean the Regional Planning?
Regional Planning
RPC,
Commission.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
RPC.
supposedly they wrote up one.
Well, it's one of the
But I
regional
haven't-
planning
I
commissions, we
couldn't-
don't know which one, there are a bunch of them in the state. And so I did talk to Renee, who's who's been with us, I emailed her today. And one of the things I asked her is if they had a cottage court template for a zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, I'm sure most of them are gonna be in places that have sewer and
Yeah,
municipal water.
and it's interesting, I don't know if you read about the one that was proposed in Enfield.
Right.
Pretty close to Mascoma Lake.
Less expensive single-family homes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I actually went to that public hearing, and then I listened in to see how other towns do their things.
Everybody thought it was a good idea, but it was not allowed by the zoning.
It wasn't allowed by zoning, but I mean, not everybody thought it was a good idea.
Wow.
Then, obviously, the number of the neighbors didn't think it was a great idea. But they were looking at 38 units on 16 acres.
Right.
So, I mean, that's
Big.
substantially
That's big.
substantially more units than we're talking about, but substantially less, substantially more acreage than what Ray has
Right.
suggested might work on his property.
and I still think the
So-
board needs to review some of the properties that would be affected by this and see what that, and so I think, we can pull that up, I can map it, we can do
Yeah, that
all
would be
kinds
great.
of things, but the board needs to decide what the criteria for me to look at, what is it?
Yeah,
Um,
because this is from the Lyme Common study,
Well, I
This
would
is the
think it's an
Lyme
acre
Common
or
District.
more in the Lyme Common or commercial district.
You need to look at the topology of that acre.
Right.
Because I can point to lots that are acre
Exactly.
or more
And
that,
our half wetlands.
well, not even half, you know, you
No,
go
I-
up onto Sand Hill and, you know, where,
But that's where I'm saying it would start, you know,
Right, yeah,
you'd
you-
start with a lot size.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, is this, you know, the legend on this figure says that, somebody rated these from not developable all the way to highly developable.
yeah, that was basically done by the board as a group, looking at the
They were looking at septic
septic
soils.
capacity. And that, again, is not 100% because, you know, when you look at septic, the capacity of the soil is, you go down, and all we have is information what's on the surface. And so I don't know what's underneath, you know, you could have a soil type that's mapped out by, that says one thing, and you go down 10 inches, and all of a sudden you hit
Interesting.
bedrock. You know, you only can work with the soil on the surface and the slope
Yeah, I
of
mean, yeah,
the
you-
surface.
Because the septic system is down 4 feet, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about mound systems.
Yeah,
Having bought.
open up your pocketbook,
Having
right?
bought one myself, we always wanted to own a piece of Vermont.
Yeah.
You built it.
20 truckloads, yeah.
So, so for our next meeting then, hopefully we can get this site plan review completed and,
A draft of 4.46 for final review before we share it
yeah.
Yeah.
with the greater
And then-
community.
In the interim, it would be great if you could check with Renee and see what,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be interested to know what towns that have actually
Yeah.
got an ordinance and how long they've had one, to see if anybody has any actual experience
Yep.
with a project. Because as we look at it, I mean, there are some
Some
some areas.
Potential.
It's not to say that the owner wants to sell, but, you know,
Well, the board can't force people to sell, but you can create opportunity,
yeah. Okay.
or the town can create opportunity, not the board.
Terrific. Do we have a
Motion to adjourn. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Excellent. We're done.
Great. So, yeah, by the 13th, and if you're not here, we'll just forge ahead and assign you all the tasks.
Yeah, we go.
We'll have a final version of 446